After 20 long years, the announcement of a certain visual novel took the world by surprise, announcing a long-awaited remake of a heavily beloved visual novel and cult classic, Tsukihime A Piece of the Blue Glass Moon. But let's take a step back and return to its roots, back to where it all started, to the original visual novel, Tsukihime, Type Moon's very first visual novel and the title that kickstarted Type Moon into massive popularity. My name is August and welcome to the August Tale, and today we are going to take a look at the urban supernatural story of Tsukihime. As a brief history lesson, Tsukihime was published in December in the year 2000, written by Kinoko Nasu and Takeshi Takeuchi, the author and artist pair who founded Type Moon, known for works such as Fate Stay Night and Kara no Kyokai. While Tsukihime is their oldest title, it's still as well beloved as its successors. Despite its technical and artistic merits, I'll give it more leniency for being created in the year 2000. But oh god, the 640 by 480 resolution and the no autoplay feature makes me want to cry inside. But at the time it was created, it accomplished what it needed to do, telling an urban fantasy tale that people still to this day remember fondly of, and screamed in joy of its announcement of the remake. Tsukihime tells the story about a boy named Shiki who can see death lines, after getting into a life-threatening accident many years ago. These death lines, able to be visible on humans and objects, allow Shiki to inflict death upon them by tracing them with his knife. Shiki moves back to his main household after his banishment 8 years ago has been revoked by the death of his father. He gradually gets used to living in his new environment, but after he gets wrapped up in a series of vampire-like murders, he soon discovers the mysterious truth of his past long ago. Technical and visual elements aside, the real appeal in Tsukihime is in its storytelling and writing, penned by Kinoko Nasu, which is both creatively unique and infamously extra at the same time. Told from the perspective of Shiki, the prose really gets into the mental state of our main protagonist. It's told in a very stream of consciousness-like way, where Shiki's thoughts, feelings, and reactions are depicted in a continuous flow. Nasu uses various techniques to add flavor and style. Quick sentence structure, extremely detailed descriptions of events, and unconventional text placements. And this leads to some pretty strange scenes where you have some unusually creative sequences, like this chair. Odd scenes like this aside, Nasu's writing makes for some horrific first-person depictions of its events, showing Shiki as he rapidly loses his sanity. It really makes you feel like Shiki, the horny teenage compulsive killer he is. Unfortunately, while Nasu's prose is great in depicting Shiki's insanity, it also dramatically increases the amount of awkwardness through Tsukihime's most uncomfortable moments, the H scenes. Tsukihime draws parallels between Shiki's impulsive killer instinct along with his raging boner, almost feeling bestial in nature. And combined with the first-person perspective, it really makes you feel like a criminal. These H scenes become aggressively unnerving, with Shiki practically forcing himself on some of the heroines, both in a consensual and non-consensual way, with Shiki plowing the girls like stabbing a new point of death with his bodily jackhammer. It's quite uncomfortable when reading these, and writing-wise it comes off as unnecessarily extra. Unnervingly, despite my complaints, these scenes make thematic sense. Shiki's bloodthirsty instinct and lust are interpreted as the same impulsive behavior, and it draws parallels with the compulsive vampire nature of sucking blood. But man, I wish this wasn't done in such a heavy-handed way. Shiki really needs to learn some restraint, both in the sexual sense and the I'm going to deliberately throw myself into danger sense. And now, time to introduce our heroines. First off is our central heroine, the poster girl, Arcuide Brunstud. Arcuide is one whimsical individual, essentially forcing Shiki to go along with her plans. It's only natural after having been sliced into pieces by a horny teenage boy. Their dynamic is my favorite in the visual novel, combining a relatively concerned ordinary boy with a mysterious, otherworldly, happy-go-lucky vampire princess.
Oi, Shiki! Yahoo!
Their adventure serves as a beginning introduction of the clash between worlds in Tsukihime, the normal everyday life and the supernatural otherworldly life, filled with bloodthirsty vampires, curry-loving exorcists, and reckless idiot assassins. Arcuide's route plays it straightforward as a type of horror shonen with the two of them fighting zombies and vampires, but it also has a melancholy bittersweetness to it, as the two grow to talk more intimately about immortality and the reason for living life, all while bickering about trying to outsave each other like a bunch of stubborn, hard-headed, love-struck idiots. Their adventures aren't all fun and games because not only do they have to worry about killer vampires, but also a jealous senpai ready to throw hands, Melty Blood style. Meet Ciel, a reliable older classman that's very kind and friendly to Shiki. Her friendship with Shiki is one that is founded on compassion, and it's that kindness of hers that goes a long way in their relationship, saving Shiki from his unhealthy amount of self-loathing. Ciel's route is where Tsukihime discusses the feeling of wanting to be forgiven for past sins, where the idea of punishment serves as a mark of atonement. Very aggressively too. That said, Tsukihime on the surface may be fighting bloodthirsty vampires, but there's a sense of nuance when it delves into each character's history and how it's affected them. The themes of Ciel's route aside, Ciel's route in the first half unfortunately plays out the exact same way as Arcoide's route. But in the second half, the route proceeds to hook you in with its mystery, as it questions the foundation of their relationship between the two leads. Now both Arcoide and Ciel's stories are considered the near side routes of Tsukihime, where the battle against the vampires take precedence with Arcoide's appearance. However, in the far side routes, Tsukihime focuses more on the mystery behind Shiki's past, featuring the residents of the Tono household, Akiha, Hisui, and Kohaku. There's also a side plot involving Satsuki, but I mean, who cares about her? Akiha is Shiki's younger sister, a high-class, refined lady that, while very concerned for Shiki's well-being, isn't hesitant to reprimand him too. And yet, she lets Shiki go off on his merry adventures with death awaiting him almost every time. You really ain't doing a good job, little prototype Rin Tosaka Emoto. After being apart for 8 years, the sibling feels more like strangers rather than family. And a good amount of Akiha's route, Shiki spends that time repairing that bond by eating breakfast together, going to school together, and dreaming that his little sister and maids are seducing him together. You know, average sibling bonding activities.
でも二人っきりなんてちょっと恥ずかしい。
そんなことないさ。これは嬉しいよ。アキハ。
兄さん。
But their past history together becomes a big motivation point as the two deeply reconnect and care for each other, strengthening their family bond. At least before Shiki dumps it out the window to love Akiha as his woman instead. All within the same scene too. There's a sense of romantic, sentimental feelings that is the core of the Far Side routes, and it uses those childhood memories like a sword. Ain't nothing stronger than a good old childhood promise. The only other things rivaling it being a promised memento and a raging boner. Of the two maids, Hisui is the quiet, stoic twin who is solely tasked with taking care of Shiki's needs. Not in the sexual way, but the basic necessities like waking up on time. Although there's definitely some of the latter. Hisui, in my opinion, is where the cuteness factor of Tsukihime is loaded into, with some subtle, adorable expressions that come out from time to time, in the midst of her usual behavior. It's those slow and steady interactions between the two that go a long way in meaningfulness. While everyone's having fun, see note, they're definitely not, our quiet twin over here is having fun being damage control. It's admirable how much Hisui puts up with Shiki's antics, whether it's him doing exactly what people tell him not to do, or being locked up in his room burning up inside for a good 3 whole chapters. But the very last parts of her route has some jaw-dropping ending scenes, where the term bittersweet is a damn understatement, leaving its revelations up till the very end. And last but not least, Kohaku. Kohaku can only be unlocked after you completed any of Arcoide's and Ciel's endings, true or normal, and after reading Hisui's true ending. And considering this is the ideal final route of the game, it should be read last. Kohaku's route is a very somber experience. Given what we know about Shiki's backstory thus far, what's great about Kohaku's route, or rather the Far Side routes in general, is that while these routes have the same plot elements, it's vague and structured in misdirected ways so that there are different variations between the routes. As a result, it keeps the mystery fresh and surprising, even when the initial villain slowly fades out of existence. Tsukihime is a vintage classic. It's Nasu's multifaceted mystery tale with a world that, while self-contained, is larger than it appears to be. Initially seeming like a supernatural vampire story with horror-esque elements to it, it becomes more sentimental through its characters, combining a sense of nostalgic romanticism with each character's unfortunate histories. Tsukihime isn't perfect though. Nasu's writing style and Tsukihime's plot structure can be a double-edged sword, resulting in very long-winded repetitive segments along with Nasu's aggressively raunchy erotic writing, and personally, Shiki's idiotic tendency at times. But the essence of Tsukihime's atmosphere, the depictions of insanity, and the usage of perspective changes and misdirection, Nasu did an excellent job at conveying. And despite its aged visual, audio, and technical aspects, the real qualities of the work, what most people remember fondly to this day, the story and its characters, is the heart of Tsukihime. I give Tsukihime a 4 out of 5. And as always, subscribe if you liked the video and want to see more. Check back every week for new content. Check out some of my other anime visual novel reviews on my channel if you are interested. That's it for today. I'll see you all next time.